Season 6 of NASL.
Yeah, most definitely, and it's the Flying Blobbos that are gonna look to continue their win streak, as ever since liftoff they haven't lost a series yet, right? They came through the upper bracket and just continue to take their wins, even against Bun Bun at that last game. Obviously, Weeeee are gonna look to stop that in this series, as we have a Siege Machine Deadeye start, and ooh, there's a lot of fun picks here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different picks than what we saw out of this team in the last match here. Pensando going to be piloting the Finny, J-Man on the Octavia that was permanently banned by the likes of Bun Bun Bonanza, and Fireman busting out this Centauro, facing down against the Estelle now and X composition. We going to be looking to make their way into their first NASL off the back of this win.
Yeah, most definitely. And the first game is gonna just be a KO heavy one, I feel like. With the Deadeye, there's just so much damage gonna be on the field, even though not a lot of these characters are gonna get great use out of the Deadeye pick. We ended up picking it up as X as well, which only really works, I think, on an ultimate primary or something like that. So we'll see if there's gonna be any edge case situations where it's gonna make the difference. But more interestingly, J-Man, even though this is a very KO-heavy game, I'd argue, opted to pick the Octavia here. So we'll see how that's going to pan out. Obviously, in the last series, he was doing so well at staying alive on the Kai. We'll see if that's going to translate into the Octavia here as well.
Yeah, Fireman doing a good job getting things started on the offense. Both of these rounds here, Pensando actually manages to use the misdirection to snag themselves the orb in the center here. We going to be the one taking a lot of punishment for that. Carmine going to have to come in and provide some actual support in the form of the lifeline. Want to highlight Carmine here as well, making their debut at support, or at goalie rather, and going to have it sent right on into the goal there by J-Man. A nice flip to find the score.
Yeah, although this game specifically, Zaxmack is the one with the strike shot and positioned in the goal, so curious to see. Maybe that roster is also going to be looking for a lot of like rotations depending on the pick. But as it stands right now, the Flying Blobbos are just so in control, as a KO gets found by Fireman there as well. Great combination of abilities to secure the KO on Weeeee, as now the power play is gonna come through for the Flying Blobbos. They're gonna try to look to close off this set as early as they can. One barrier falls, second one's gonna follow suit, and Fireman in front of the net can't get it past just yet, but the attack has not slowed down at all, and the passive is enough to get it past Zaxmack there. Well executed. Flying Blobbos take the first set.
Yeah, a dominant first set there, especially from the likes of Fireman, looking real comfortable on this Centauro as they set up repeated combos with the slashing strike to be able to put things right into the goal.
Yeah, and looking at these awakenings here, I'm mainly looking at what's going to be left for J-Man, because there's a Stagger Swagger and then among Titans. We'll see if J-Man's going to go for it. But there are even deals, right? You're going to have the Spark going to Centauro. Stagger Swagger, solid pickup for the Estelle. The Specialized Training actually going towards J-Man. But you're giving Monumentalist to Now here, which is going to help them so much with that midfield control. Pensando picking up more damage with the Prize Fighter is going to do great work for him, as well as another Spark finds his way to Weeeee. I am interested to see how effective the Specialized Training is on Octavia, because personally, I'm not even that familiar with its effect. Well, evidently it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it does something right then and right there, as an early power play is secured for the Flying Blobbos to keep their winning ways going. Carmine trying to get things out of here, though, using some of that midfield experience to move things back on over, but not going to be able to take things on to the goal. I want to highlight, of course, here, Pensando, formerly on the Modern Magic team, that Zaxmack and Carmine were on as well in NASL. So a little bit of a grudge match here, trying to defeat some former teammates with a new team and knock them out of NASL would definitely be a feels-good moment for them. Fireman nearly able to find the score there off the back of the rush, and they're going to just cycle back and do it again. And Sando into the stealth vent. Going to be able to get things back on up to J-Man, who is in the flow state. Fireman trying to vanish as well, get that back into position. Big damage onto Carmine. Gets into the stagger, and there's going to be a perfect shot from J-Man. Zaxmack not able to get back there in time, and it's a fourth in a row for the Flying Blobbos.
The Flying Blobbos are not slowing down at all. They're seemingly so in control of this game already. And the side of Weeeee need to find a different way of approaching this. Maybe it could be as simple as a positioning adjustment, but as it stands right now, it's just a lot of pressure that they're having to deal with. They find the double barrier here, but they still need to find the goal. as J-Man's getting rather low here as well. Wee's going to be able to pick up the orb in the middle. Going to be a bigger KO threat here as the strike comes through, and it does actually end in the goal in the end to stop the streak, and the first goal now in favor of Wee's Little Bees.
Very nicely done by Weeeee there. Just guides that core in there, stays ahead of Pensando, and prevents any defense from actually manifesting. Now going to have a nice bell ringer there to actually eventually put things right back in to a scoring position. Pushed on back by Pensando, the repeated misdirections, and eventually winning out of the strike wars. J-Man taking both barriers there, and Fireman going to push for a little bit more. The triple take very well positioned from Pensando to keep the aggression going. Big finish, nearly going to be able to do it as well. Comes down towards the bottom. Fireman looking for the board flick. Can't quite get it there, but there's a flip out of J-Man, saved in the last moment by ZackSmack. Fireman can't get it with their own flip either. Everybody forgets about the core for a moment, just sits still for an instant, and somehow doesn't end up going in.
I just saw a nightmare situation where ZackSmack actually flipped some primaries into their own net there, but in the end didn't end up happening, as we're back to neutral play here. Flying Blobbos trying to get a setup going, trying to get a passive defense here, and an unfortunate clear from ZackSmack. ZackSmack will send it directly into Firemadden's hands, who can just put that right into the net.
Really nicely done there. 2-1 lead now in the set for the Flying Blobbos as they look to get themselves a second set win early on in this series. Rolling inside of the big finish there. Carmine able to keep it over to the side, but Carmine is running out of stagger fast. Gonna have to use that lifeline to be able to get themselves out to safety. There is going to be the beat drop from J-Man, trying to just keep Weeeee outside of the play. Back in the flow state now. Fireman able to win out on another strike war. Going to be able to find the barrier for it. Now looking to pump out some damage, knowing that that lifeline going to be down for a little bit. Big finish to get the core back into a good position. Still nicely defended by ZackSmack to buy themselves that additional time. Still coming on back now. Triple finish from Firemadden, nearly going to be able to put it into position, but Weeeee falling lower and lower, looks for the bull rush and cannot find it.
They can't get the setup going just yet, and the map also just continuously does a bit of damage. As you can see, Weee's Little Beast trying to play into that damaging zone, but Flying Blobbos can set themselves up nicely to go the attack, send the attack through the bottom and take the barrier now. 2 flips on the board for the Flying Blobbos. Fireman in front of the net uses the flip and just sends it right past Carmen and Zach. Really good angle there for the Flying Blobbos to take this second set victory.
Very nicely done. 3-1 between the uprights for a second set win. The second draft here going to Octavia first. You always got to love that. There's Castellash, there's Twin Drive, some great selections.
I'm curious if there's like, okay, I'm trying to cook up an angle where maybe you go extra special if you already have specialized, but I think that's overcooking it a little bit as you have Fighter or Flight on the board. Explosive Entrance, a great pickup for Fireman as well in terms of damage. Twin Drive and Rapid Fire are going to help a lot with that core control for ZackSmack and Carmen, though, as the extra special does end up falling to Pensando. Solid pickup for the Finny, and a solid deny off of X as well, as X, however, will get stacks on stacks. Definitely a great pickup for the mobility as well, to give that immobile character a little bit more tools to get involved.
Yeah, but I mean, plenty more mobility picked up for Fireman as well, with the explosive entrance going to be so strong on this Zentaro and has already been performing so well. Get a little bit of extra impact damage as well, certainly not going to hurt. Weeeee, though, in a good position to be able to find 2 strikes there off the back of the Maximus. Now looking to close out for a full goal. J-Man will finally be able to navigate it away. Fireman nearly finds the double barrier. Going to have to settle for just one, and J-Man going to try to take it down towards the bottom side now. Flow state will expire. The Fireman back in here to be able to keep the offense going. They do take the second barrier. They do open up the goal. A nice triple take going to put it right back into an offensive position. Pensando going to get it over there. Beat drop does take on down another member of the squad, and now an easy goal here, as there is the quick sonic boom to push it into the goal for J-Man.
A good catch, and if we're looking at the levels here as well, you can see J-Man is kind of all over the place. Level 7 already, compared to the entirety of Weee's Little Bees, who at most are sitting at 5. This Octavia is just ever present and getting so much value, even on the KO department, as we, though, had enough of that Octavia character, takes him off just cleanly. Power play now in favor of the side of Weee's Little Bees, as they're playing so offensively in that positioning, but gets immediately punished by Firemadden, who finds the dash and finds the strike and primary right past Zaxmac. That's what you need to be looking out for if you're playing offensively like that in a 3v2. It's great if it works out, but a simple mistake like that can just cost you that point.
Massive breakaway for Fire Madden to be able to find that point, and now 1 goal away from game number 1 in your promo series. Flying Blobbos flying high here as they look to just take the full winner's side run into NASL, and they just might be able to do it, having already taken down Bun Bun Bonanza. Flip right in their face here, gonna get blocked away as best as Fire Madden can, but we in the Maximus be able to force it through up against Pensando.
They do get it through to stop the streak from the Flying Blobbos here as we're going toward the bouncy castle. Flip on Fire Madden, though, is going to be a threat to be careful of, because on a map like this where it's so volatile and the core can kind of go everywhere, having that flip is going to be an easy way to secure one of these 2 barriers here, as the core is continuously being controlled well by WEEEE, though. They're not really giving any kind of control to the side of the Flying Blobbos here, as both barriers still stand on their defense.
Yeah, good job to be able to hold on here. Looking like they're getting a little bit more comfortable as they get some more reps in on this first map, but is it too little and too late? 1 goal again for the Flying Blobbos will spell the end of this first game. Nice Oni's blade into the slashing strike, gonna be able to take them in for 1 barrier, but a nice shot there from Carmine. We can't even catch up to it, it's going too fast. And it will tie things up at 2-2 in this set number 3.
And they do need to find this last goal in the set as well to force a set 4 here. As we're gonna go into the orb map here. 1 barrier falls on the side of WEEEE. The second one almost follows suit, but an incredible defense from Carmine and Zach will actually hold it alive here. As Fire Madden's also gonna be put down into stagger, potentially can be KO'd here if Wee's gonna be able to put himself into a position to make use of that X Maximus, as the Fire Madden is still staying alive, doing a good job avoiding death as of right now, but the core calmly and securely in the possession of WEEEE here. Take 1 barrier. Can they get the second one? Not quite yet.
And they nearly snuck it over to Fire Madden there, who was able to brawl with Zaxmac for that orb to be able to get back into a sustainable place, but WEEEE picks up the big size boost, and look at the damage on the J-Man. Going to be able to dominate inside that goal arc here. They have to get away from him ASAP, but they have been able to take on out Fire Madden. They have got the advantage in favor of WEEEE, and they want to avoid the sweep. They want to stay alive in this game number 1. Fire Madden back on up here as we get into overtime, trying to take the core on through. Still need to be able to find that last barrier. Still keeping up the defense is Pensando on the opposite side. Heat drop from J-Man, not going to be able to find much of a mark on towards anybody, and the flow state will expire. Brawling for the center again. This time Fire Madden's going to be able to steal it away. Feels like it's going to need to be a KO from one side or the other to be able to break this stalemate, but Carmine in position sets it up for Weeeee, and it will be a set win for WEEEE. No sweep out in game number 1.
And I feel like that twin drive pickup for Carmen was the thing that changed that set completely, with the Monumentalist, with the Siege Machine, having these secondaries be so massive and having them so often as well just makes that control in that midfield so much more difficult to deal with. As we're now looking at the Awakenings here, Super Surge has to be denied off of J-Man. Don't want to give Octavia more speed than he need to. Reverberation's going to help with survivability a little bit for J-Man there, but I don't think it's going to be a huge game changer as Timeless Creator gets picked up for Carmen. Even more size on that secondary now. At this point, it's got to cover half of the field. A second spark pickup for Fire Madden is going to help with damage and survivability there. And last but not least, an Adrenaline Rush for Zaxmac could potentially also start to snowball a little bit if they can find more consistent KOs.
Yeah, going to need to get back out of offense here. They do manage to find one of those barriers, and now going to have a little bit of extra survivability on J-Man to try to avoid some of these KOs from coming on through. Nice strike war from Fire Madden to be able to open on up the goal. Pensando going to pass it over to J-Man. J-Man gets it over to Fire Madden with the help of that rush. Carmine rolling for the core, though, going to be able to maintain some amount of control. The strike wars for Fire Madden have been clean so far. They're going to be able to just close it out, but Weeeee does arrive in time, and Weeeee is going to try to push them back out away. J-Man, though, finding the KO. Easy path into the goal, or so it seemed, but it will be blocked. Still, it's a second KO for Fire Madden, and it's Zach 1 versus 3. No chance here as that gets into the goal easily.
And those KOs also bring some extra value as Weeeee stacks got completely reset again. Now this was the first goal of the set, so the stacks weren't incredibly high yet, but even that little setback can be the difference maker if the set does go on for a little bit. As the attacks are being built from both sides, no barrier has been dropped yet. Weeeee in a 1v1 situation, 2v1 situation with Carmen ulting up front, but Pensando defends it excellently as the flow state will now come out from J-Man, but being played around excellently as well from Zaxmac, not giving Octavia that extra speed. One barrier drops. Weeeee in contention of this barrier on the side of Flying Blobbos, does get one now, cannot get the second one yet. Fireman in front of the barrier, uses the flip, secures it, and open goal on the side of Weeee's Little Bees now.
Nicely done here. Fireman to set up for a scoring opportunity. J-Man there for the backup. Not quite going to be able to send it on into the goal, and instead it's Weeeee trying to take it onto a breakaway, but big finish from Pensando to try to clear things out. Beat drop and flip used by Pensando and J-Man as they desperately need to get this core outside of Weeee's hands and away from their remaining barrier. Pensando going to clear up towards the top again. Instead, clears straight right into Carmine, but Fireman winning out with that slice and dice. Will get sent out with the Oni's blade, and Weeeee finds the KO. Going to have a numbers advantage here. Fireman trying to go for the breakaway, but it's a flip from Zaxmac to clear things back out, and now Weeeee and Carmine, the great angle to be able to take this barrier. Pensando holding on, though. Triple take doing work to hold on to that barrier, and J-Man back up immediately going in with the beat drop, trying to set up with the flow state to get it back into Fireman's hands and find that goal. They will do so. J-Man puts it into the net, and it is 2-0 lead in the set for the Flying Blobbos.
J-Man's speed on this Octavia just ended up being a bit too much there towards the end. Couldn't position properly to cover all the angles as the Flying Blobbos are now looking to take the set in a 3-0 fashion. First barrier is being taken by Weeeee, though. It's going to get the second one as well. Weeee's Little Bees very much not happy with how the set has been going so far, and coming back with a statement as they're almost getting the goal in. It's defended by the Flying Blobbos and immediately turned back into their attack as well. Fireman in front of the net has a flip as well, but immediately stopped by Zaxmac as Weeee's trying to get it past Pensando, but it's cleanly taken care of. Fireman back in front of the goal here, gets one barrier, is going to get the second one here as well. J-Man and Fireman trying to get the goal in, and the beautiful dash will secure it. Flying Blobbos take game one.
Gorgeous from Fireman on the Zentaro. 3-0 fashion in this second or fourth set. And they do manage to come on up with the win, getting themselves on to game number 2, and the Flying Blobbos in such a favorable position to promote into NASL now, looking so strong in this game number 1.
Incredibly strong, good team play, good attacks, and just very suffocating in their attack as well. Now, this was the map pick for the Flying Blobbos. We've seen how well they've been doing on this map against Bonbon. We've seen how well they were doing here now. And before, they played excellently on the AtLab as well, which we're going to go to again in this next game. So I'm going to be curious to see if we're going to see a similar team comp coming out against the side of Weeee's Little Bees here for the side of Flying Blobbos, or if they're maybe even looking to run back the exact same team comp if they can that they did against Bonbon.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, that was so good for them on a completely different setup than what we saw from them previously today. And they looked plenty good on this one as well. So clearly showing that they've got that character diversity that you want out of an NASL team, and very well might be calling them a NASL team here before too long if they are able to keep up this kind of performance. Really, really good showing out of Fireman today. I think J-Man's been able to show up as well on multiple different picks. And Pensando, getting the Octavia constantly, but got to show off the Finny this time, and it looks plenty good as well. Some real good triple take saves, as well as big finishes over the course of this game number 1.
Yeah, and that also was kind of like a statement, right? If you are able to play the Finny to that level as well, you now know that just taking out the Juno from Pensando isn't the answer to this team, because there are alternatives that you can be playing into for the side of Flying Blobbos, as we have our Awakenings for the AtLab game. We have Cast the Last and Spark of Agility. A very speed-heavy game this time around, very much the opposite of the Awakenings that we've seen so far today, which were always very kill favored. This time, control is going to be the name of the game, I feel like.
Yeah, and the Octavia didn't feel like it was completely unstoppable in that game number 1, but with Castellast on the board, do we see the Octavia ban come out of Weeee's Little Bees? It does look like we very well might. So the Juliette ban from the Flying Blobbos, the Octavia ban from Weee's Little Bees, and first pick to the Flying Blobbos. Do they just go back to that Juno?
They could just go back to the Juno.
Kai.
It has so much effort. No, they take the priority pick on Kai. And I mean, it does make sense. So far, we've seen J-Man on the Kai and the Octavia today. And both characters are very good on speed, very good on control. And they've been working for J-Man so well. So just locking into this Kai here is actually going to be a really good choice for them, because you have J-Man as the consistency in that midfield again with that Castle last start to just be ever present, while Pensando still has the option to get a Juno here if it's going to go through the draft. Weasel Bees locking in the X for their own first pick here.
With the Castellast, I can see it. It's a solid choice here if that is what they want to go for. Going to be back to the same brawler though, and you definitely do want to see them change up some amount of the plan. Just giving up the just getting rid of the Octavia and giving up the Kai doesn't feel like it's going to be enough in and of itself based on what we've gotten to see out of the Flying Blobbos so far today. So let's see what other things they're going to be able to change up. They're going to take the Juno, so it will be denied from the goal arc here for Pensando.
Juno is gonna be denied, but you still have the now open that Pensando is very much able to play together with that Castellas. It might even be the option that they're gonna go for, and the now is gonna be the pick, as Fireman is gonna pick himself as Entaro up front. Another pick where he's been shining on whenever he got the opportunity to play it. Curious to see what Weasel B's answer is gonna be to that now, as they're still missing likely a goalie pick here.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it could be the Juno and the goalie if they want it, but could definitely lock into something different here. These little bees. Yeah, it does look like they do want the Juno and the goal arc because the Estelle coming on through to round things out, help them out in the midfield alongside this X.
Yeah, and I mean, both of these characters are just gonna be, as both the Juno and the Estelle are gonna be able to get the core up front to the X to make we do his magic up front on that character, because that's gonna be the difficulty on a map like Atlab. If you have an X pick, he's gonna be immobile. He's gonna have to be given the core to really do a lot of work, because the moment you're gonna have to move back with X and assist getting the core up front, you're not gonna be able to do anything once you are in front of the barrier anymore. So good pickups overall for the midfield control and to defend as well. It's just going to turn into a situation where Weasel Bees cannot allow the side of Flying Blobbos to be too close to their barriers, because if that core finds itself too close to it, it's not going to be easy to get that core out.
Yeah, you're completely right there. So going to be dangerous position to be in if you are facing off up against the Flying Blobbos here. As they find themselves already up 1-0. And it might be able to get in here. Pensando perhaps going to be able to relegate his former team here as he looks for a slot in NASL once again. You're getting on to the map for game number 2 here, and it is everything to play for the Flying Blobbos.
Yeah, looking to win this game and go lossless through landing if they are able to win this and qualify for NASL with this series here. Overall, the Awakenings, though, with a Spark of Agility start, I feel like everyone's always going to be happy here at the start. It's also going to put some more pressure onto this very first set, because in the first Awakening draft, if there are going to be Sparks in there, you want to be the team that's going to be able to pick them up. You want to be the team that gets that Spark advantage. And looking at the characters picked overall, there are a few of them that can make use of Castellas, but there's also a good amount that would rather just take that Spark potential. As you can see in the Awakening picks that did come through, J-Man, the only player that picked up Castellast. Everyone else is in Spark City, and that's what they're going to have to be playing for here. That first set and that momentum off of this first draft.
So even we going for the Spark here, so everybody wants to be prioritizing that potential extra speed that they can get later on. It will be an interesting fight over who's going to be able to get those early picks and where you're going to prioritize the Sparks. But good early start for Weee's Little Bees, though. They managed to take themselves both of the barriers here, and J-Man just getting bullied around as Carmine and Weeeee landed quite the variety of abilities onto the both of them. Fireman is still not quite able to get to level 2 and get access to the Oni's Blade, and that's certainly not making things any easier for them either. One barrier going to end up coming through that will give the Oni's Blade over, and going to try to use it to get out of the second barrier. Not quite going to be able to find it to start things off, but J-Man keeps the pressure in from the top side, not able to find their way onto it. And now Weeeee coming on through with the bell ringer, finds the strike in and is able to take the first point of game number 2 for Weee's Little Bees.
Great angle to be found there. Pensando not expecting it to go to the short corner there, using the primary to cover the wide angle, but we correctly assessing the situation and just sending it right in there to get the momentum going for them in this second game. And they need to be riding this momentum as long as they can, because Flying Blobbos, they are just this game away from qualifying, right? You cannot afford any large mistakes anymore if you're the side of WEEE's, because any single mistake can potentially lead to a set that will just completely change the way the game's going to be played just because of these spark potentials.
And a team that you're not going to be able to just start snowballing on and rely on to choke either, right? The Flying Blobbos showed us yesterday playing a very close series up against Starbreakers and looked so good in their comeback. J-Man comes on it, gets the KO, puts it right into the net, and Flying Blobbos are off to the races.
We're on cooldown now. J-Man not going to have that to contest the kickoff. We'll see if it's going to matter, though, as it's going to spawn on the bottom anyways. Fireman going to be contesting it. Wins those strike wars there as Carmen tries to take the bottom barrier, but Pensando clears that safely. Flip coming out as well to just get the core out, as the first barrier does fall on the side of WEEE's. Second one is being defended pretty well, though, as the Flying Blobbos are still in attack. Weeeee gets the core out, then an immediate attack through the top barrier here. As a flip comes out from Fireman and will actually get the power play going now in favor of Flying Blobbos. Can they get the goal as well?
Oh, Weeeee sends it in towards the center, hit stuns themselves as it explodes, and that's goal credit to Pensando. Oh no.
Yeah, unfortunate situation, but it's just a goal. You still have the potential to win this set, right? Flying Blobbos are now one away from taking the set one, and that again would be so huge in terms of momentum, simply just because of these spark pickups, right? So WEEE's will have to find something, and they do with a power play now in favor of them.
All right, we get a little redemption right off the bat there. Going to be able to take Fireman right off the map. Carmine able to reset with the Crystal Thorns to take a second barrier. Goes for the flip down to ZachSmack. Throws out the Blobbo. Can't quite find it here. The defense is mounted successfully for the Flying Blobbos, and they find an empty net waiting for him on the other side. Fireman going to be able to take one of those barriers, but will be limited to only one. Not able to bounce it between the two. Resetting now to try to get themselves onto the second. Carmine staggered, but still able to hold it down in midfield. Avoids getting KO'd by the barrage, and Zach able to get back in time to defend the remaining barrier. Nice strike war by J-Man, though. Going to be able to send it on through, but it's a flip and a score from Weeeee to take us to point number 5.
What you're noticing here is the positioning from WEEE's is incredibly aggressive. ZachSmack is almost positioning like a second midfielder here by the way that he's always so offensively positioned. And that can work out really well if you have the core on the enemy half, if you want to be applying that pressure. But more often than not so far, the side of Flying Blobbos actually got the core past one of Carmen or ZachSmack, and then you're in a free situation to take a barrier or two. So they do need to be careful to not overstate their welcome outside of the goalie arc there, as the flip comes out from ZachSmack, and the attack is going to be built again for the Flying Blobbos. Barrier not down yet.
Barrier not down, and ooh, J-Man nearly going to end up going down as takes a lot of damage, has already used the flip, so not going to have any energy to use on evades. Fireman takes it on down towards the bottom, though. Will be able to find that barrier. Zach going to have to use the Blobbo bounce to fall back in time to be able to defend, but now with those cooldowns, if Fireman can get the core again, could be able to take it in. Back passes it into the center. J-Man charging forward with the barrage. Carmine and ZachSmack going to be able to fend it away for now. Fireman, though, resetting. Flip comes on across. Oni's blade blocks it. A Giga Blast to reset. Fireman still can't find the strike, though, and it will be held on to. ZachSmack doing a good job alongside Carmine of being able to hold up the defense, and instead it's Weeeee who doesn't actually touch it. That was Carmine's goal solo.
But more importantly, we took that now primary and just completely stopped Pensando to really be interacting with that core, and this first set now goes in favor of WEEE's, and unfortunately for them, there's no sparks in this draft. Oof. So you can't get that going that early, but you still have some other high-value awakenings. The 1-2 punch is going to be here. The reverberation is going to be a solid pickup, however, because if Carmen's going to get that spark of resilience further down the line, that's going to be a lot of cooldowns coming his way, as 1-2 punch is going to do pickup for Fireman, and Big Fish going to do a lot of work for the X. Deadeye Kai is going to be going on to J-Man. Very lethal awakening pick on this Kai, and specifically J-Man, because you saw what he was able to do with his specialized training in the previous games. Deadeye is no different in that regard. The KO potential with that ultimate is going to be insane, as we do get a KO, but not off of J-Man.
Yeah, I mean, eyes on the Giga Blasts from J-Man for the rest of this game, but an early KO on to Fire Madden and an easy score for Weeeee. Weeee's Little Bees keep their winning ways going, and they start things off in set number 2.
They started off, they have the energy advantage going into this point as well now, and they're looking to make it a 2-0. We'll see if they can get the attack going as they get a barrier pretty swiftly. Pensando slightly overwhelmed there, as J-Man's taking a lot of damage as well. Needs to look out that he's not going to get continuously damaged, but there it is, the Deadeye ultimate from Kai coming through. Power play in favor of the Flying Blobbos.
Now let's see what they're going to be able to get off of it, able to win the strike war up against Carmine for the first, and Fireman nearly able to take it in for the second, but it will be sent back away by ZachSmack, doing a good job of holding it down during that power play and trying to keep the offense going. The barrage not quite going to find its mark, and the Blobos going to keep things cleared away. Feels like after that first draft, it's gotten a little tougher now for the Flying Blobos to be able to actually manufacture themselves some offense. Going to be taken very low now is Fire Madden. Has to go back and get some of those orbs, be able to re-sustain themselves back up, and the flip going to be able to find that second barrier. Fire Madden takes one for themselves, though. Going to be able to reset it, get it right back in front of that core, or right back in front of the goal, rather, but Weeeee not going to be able to get it through. It's a KO found by ZachSmack, and now sent over in the other direction. Carmine going to be able to reset it with the Rose Warp. Just trying to clear things out now are Pensando and Fire Madden. Last second save, but it's at the cost of their life. It's still a power play for Weeee's Little Bees, and Weeeee will find it again. 2-0 lead in the set for Weeee's Little Bees.
The X ended up being too much to defend against because the kill pressure is just ever so present, especially with the big fish. These punches are going to have such a reach, and punishing that positioning was done so well from Weeeee there, as we're in a neutral state at the beginning here. One barrier does end up dropping on the side of Flying Blobbos. They are gonna get an attack going though to equalize the barriers pretty swiftly, as Carmen will try to get the core up front to Weeeee, pushes it down to Zach. Zach now getting this barrier in the bottom open goal on the side of the Flying Blobbos, and they get a KO on them as well as Pensando falls. Carmen covers the clear, and a clean 3-0 set now in favor of Weeee's Little Bees.
Gorgeous set from Weeee's Little Bees. Just firing on all cylinders here, getting first pick in another draft. Here are just one of the sparks. Spark of Focus very well could be snapped on up here.
Yeah, it's going to be picked up very likely for Carmen here, because again, it puts so much more value into that Spark of Resilience down the line. Aerial's a solid pickup for J-Man to help with that speed. Stagger Swagger going to be a good deny as well to keep Weeeee alive, and more importantly, make sure that Pensando's not going to be staying alive as much as they can. Extra special, a good pickup to get Pensando a bit more active, making that ultimate on the now work more like an eject button. And surprisingly enough, the Super Surge falls all the way down to Fire Madden. This Centauro's going to do a lot more damage now as well.
Yeah, really going to help on out Fire Madden there, and may need that help. The KOs kind of stopped flowing through for him. Going to be a barrier taken a piece to start things off. But Weeeee has been an immovable object up in front of Pensando. Going to be able to find that second barrier, and already another KO on a Fire Madden. J-Man trying to take the breakaway, can't even get it onto the barrier. But will try to buy that additional time. They do find it there. ZachSmack a little bit slow on the defense, but Weeeee has the angle to charge in and take another goal. 5 in a row now for Weeee's Little Bees, running away with game number 2.
Flying Blobbos are just having such a hard time dealing with that pressure from the X, from the Junam, from the Estelle. Just don't really have the best tools to be dealing with it, especially considering the fact that in all of these Awakening drafts, we didn't necessarily see all of the best Awakening stats someone like a Now could pick up help defensively, like the Monumentalist, like a Twin Drive. So they're gonna have to find a way to win this set, even though they don't have the best offensive utility for the Now in the end, to maybe get them further down the line.
Yeah, Fireman going to find one. Really going to need a clutch up here, though, as they have just lost out on another member. Power play once again for Weeee's Little Bees off the second, or off the center. And that's going to be a third KO coming through in the round. Not relenting as Flying Blobbos just desperately trying to hold on. Somehow are managing to do so over the course of this point, but finally will be closed out by Carmine and 1 goal away from a game number 3 now for Weee's Little Bees.
They are playing it so well right now, and even though they don't have an insane amount of damage awakenings, they're just finding the abilities continuously to take out the Flying Blobbos and just getting these power plays. Talking about power plays though, J-Man back online with that Deadeye on the Giga Blast will get a power play now in favor of the Flying Blobbos. Can they get a barrier here though, because it's being defended so well currently?
Carmine doing such a good job here keeping up the defense. They will finally be able to get one of those barriers, but feels like it took such effort, and there's another KO for Weeeee. Now might be Fireman up a little too far in dangerous territory there with an X Maximus X in between you and a hard place. Going to very well nearly be able to take them out, but Respawn does come on across. Giga Blast connects at midfield. J-Man trying to get in towards this bottom barrier. Carmine will be able to clear it out once again off the Crystal Thorns. Flip comes on across, finds that open goal, and a chance to close out game number 2 is capitalized on by Carmine. We're going to game number 3 to find out who the first addition to the North American Strikers League will be.
Yeah, Weee's Little Bees coming back with seemingly a statement game, because they've been playing it so convincingly. They found KOs over and over, and they just found so many good pushes for the barriers as well. In the end, they took a grand total of 9 KOs off of the side of Flying Blobbos, and just all of these power plays ended up being enough for them to take this game in a 3-0 fashion.
Yeah, I mean, a dominant showing here from Weee's Little Bees, showing they deserve to keep their spot and interested in maintaining it right now. So Flying Blobbos, after having had such a solid run thus far, being able to take down Bun Bun Bonanza as well, going to have to shake that one off and come back in for another round.
Yeah, and that last round is going to be an interesting one, as we're going to find ourselves on Autumn City, an incredibly open map, if not the biggest open map we have. The barrier also very difficult to defend because it is so massive. Curious to see what Pensando is going to be opting for, because I'm not sure how well something like a Juno is going to be able to hold a barrier like that, and where the priorities are going to be overall, right? Because again, movement can do so much for you on a map like this, and any kind of long range interrupt as well, like in Estelle, is going to have to be prioritized here, I'd imagine.
And the Twin Drive as well as a start, going to make that mobility plenty good if you are able to get it. Also could make something like the Now feel a little bit more attractive to be able to get those additional drones out. So we will see. Weee's Little Bees going to be the ones with the first pick here. Do they keep that same ban? Is the Octavia ban still going to be in play, given that they did use it in that second game? It did seem to work out pretty well for them, but could push the Flying Blobbos back towards a comp more similar to what we saw from them earlier today, where they looked plenty comfortable.
It'd also be interesting to see what Flying Blobbos would answer if you end up taking out the Octavia and first picking the Kai, or vice versa. See what J-Man else has in the locker to be playing, because Kai and Octavia are very strong on a map like Autumn City, because they have so much area to be playing with to make use of their speed and cover everything. And I do feel like if you're not going to be first picking the Octavia as Weee's Little Bees, you're likely going to end up banning it here, just because you have the Twin Drive to worry about, right?
That's true. So the Juno going to be the Weee's Little Bees ban, trying to make sure that that is not going to be available for Pensando. So paying it respect, even on a map like Aten City. Flying Blobbos, when their turn to ban, what are they going to look to try to pinch away here? Definitely seen some very powerful stuff out of Weee's Little Bees. Maybe it's going to be that X who has really been so strong for Weeeee. Instead, they're looking to ban out the Octavia.
Yeah, I mean, Octavia will have a lot of power here, right? So they are realizing the fact that, hey, Octavia's still on the board. We're just going to have to take that out, because otherwise it's likely going to be first picked. Now, I'm curious to see where the first pick overall is going to lie now. It's going to be a solid pickup as well, to be able to either help on the defensive end if Weee's Little Bees want to put it into the net, or just being a solid midfielder as well, to just continuously interact with core and speed up the teammates to help cover all these distances, as Flying Blobbos are going to get their first 2 picks in pretty soon. The Rune pickup, though, is going to be quite valuable on a map like this, I would imagine.
A different look from the Flying Blobos and the Kazan to join it. So going to be some brand new picks showing on off here. Fireman likely to be piloting that Kazan. Very likely that we do see a new look from this team. Goalie yet to be locked in, but maybe going to be a newer goalie as well, given that this Juno's been banned away.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that goalie pick is going to be then for the side of Pensando, because the Now's picked away, the Juno is banned away, and now Estelle and Juli have been picked for the side of Weasel B. Solid
Kai.
characters on a map like this, and yeah, the Kai coming through for Pensando likely here. A solid character, a really strong character on a map like Autumn. Can get himself involved up front as well if we are opting to go with the eject button. We'll see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, so going to be a goalie Kai, where we haven't gotten to see too much of it yet. At least we assume. Unlikely to be a rune goalie, but not impossible. So eyes on how they're going to be able to execute here. That will, of course, be the Juliette as a classic selection here over for Weeeee instead of that X that we've seen them on the first two games, along with the Estelle and the Now. So a composition that we've seen quite a bit of over the course of the weekend.
Yeah, and I mean it's so effective as well, right? That Estelle and that Juli getting that force up front, getting it just through the goalie with a dash punch or a piercing shot, while but still being able to interrupt quite a bit with the Estelle behind as well. So gonna see how the value is gonna come out on that. And there's even a potential angle, I'm not expecting it, of putting the Estelle in net and having the Now in the midfield position to help Juli with that mobility, but we're gonna be fully expecting the Estelle to be the midfield pick here. And yeah, it's looking very much like it, as Carmen is hovering it and Zach is hovering the Now.
Yep, so going to be Zach in the goal arc on the Now here again. And now the Kai locked on in. We'll see which player is going to be piloting that one as we do load up onto Aten City for game number 3. Winner here will be taking a spot in the Season 6 North American Strikers League. Everything on the line for these two squads. And it is Pensando on the Rune goalie, by the way. J-Man will be playing midfield Kai.
That is definitely going to help quite a bit in the offensive department for the side of the Flying Blobbos. Kai doing so much work with that barrage. We'll see how well the Rune goalie is going to translate on a map like Autumn, though, as the barrier has fallen now. We trying to get the setup going, but Fireman with a lovely strike through both Carmen and Zach will return the barrier, as now both teams have an open net.
Yeah, such an open field here. Be able to find these scoring opportunities on. What a fitting way to close on out this winner's side run for whoever's going to be able to take it. Will be a huge relief for whoever is able to come on up with it and find themselves in the North American Strikers League. Fireman will strike first as they put it into the goal and take the first point.
And that's going to be the first of many pokes that we'll see Fireman and Madden find here to get the goals, because we saw that yesterday as well in liftoff. He's incredibly good on this Kazan as well, and it's going to be difficult to be dealing with such a forward when you are on the Now in the net here. As the flip has to come out from J-Man there. Does not get the core into the net here, as the barrier still is being held alive though from the Flying Blobbos, but a bad misdirect from J-Man will actually get the barrier gone on the side of the Flying Blobbos.
Yeah, Fireman going to be able to come in there with the pop-up to try to reset things, though. Picks it up with the crooked leverage. Looking for an angle to poke it on in. Back into the withdrawn umbrella. Finds the poke in the corner. And Zach just can't get up there in time. 2-0 Flying Blobbos.
Really good patience from Fireman in there. Any millisecond earlier, and that Now secondary is actually going to save that goal there. So having that patience in front of the net is so crucial there if you want to get these goals going early, as the Flying Blobbos are now going into a 2-0 lead in this first set, and they're going to look to close it off as soon as they can to get these awakenings going their way.
Definitely. Good job holding on to the barrier here from Pensando, although some missed strikes going to prevent an offense from developing off of it. Flying Blobbos get it back over to Pensando. Nice position on the anomaly as well, going to reset the core a couple of times. Nice Giga Blast out of J-Man, nearly finds the barrier. J-Man ends up with it back in their hands either way, as they try to get it back over to the barrier, but going to open things on up. Nice banish, finds its way onto the core. We gonna be able to dodge away from that in time. Fire Madden dashing forward with the slip, goes in for that top spin. Not quite going to be able to find it, and Zach able to time out that burst and still deflect it away to keep up the defense. Really nice stuff out of Zach in this point so far as Carmine goes for the flip, gets it over to WEEE, and WEEE puts their little bees onto the scoreboard.
The slight delay in the punch there was exactly what we needed because Pensando wasn't able to get the core out afterwards. And again, as we're now going into the kickoff of this 4th point, we and J-Man both have a flip. J-Man finds the goal, finds the flip. Excellent aggression there and just completely overruns Zaxmac on the defense there. So Flying Blobbos will take the first set victory and put themselves one step closer to qualifying for NASL. As we're looking at these awakenings here, you have the spark of agility, you have the fight or flight. One of these two is gonna go to J-Man here, the other one likely finding its way onto Zaxmac. As fight or flight is being picked up, holds a lot of value. Carmen's the one that's gonna pick up the spark of agility. Obviously the Monumentalist didn't even see it there. That's gonna be a huge pickup for Zaxmac, as Size and Timeless Creator are also really strong for the side of Fire Madden and Pensando though. Honestly, I feel like we, with the extra special, got the shortest stick here, as everyone got incredibly high value awakenings for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, Pensando being able to keep up those anomalies for longer going to be a huge boon when you're so short on defensive tools on this map. Nicely done, going to be able to find that first barrier already, and yeah, I mean, these anomalies lasting forever. Banish going to come on through in time. Nicely done, but bounced on the wrong side, not going to be able to save it. Here comes everybody into the goal arc, but still, it is a strike war that is won for the Flying Blobbos. KO for WEEE, though. Going to turn this into a favorable position for WEEE, and they will be able to turn it right into a goal.
Yeah, difficult situation for Persando to defend there. No unstable anomaly available to him. And in those situations, against the Juli dash punch, it's better to just hope and pray you get the strike. Didn't end up getting it in the end. Fireman now, though, will find the first barrier for the Flying Blobbos and is hoping to get the goal here as well to even it out, as the energy economy is actually heavily in favor of the side of Weee's Little Bees.
Yeah, it was a nice banish, but still not able to be capitalized on. Pass around the anomaly. Fire Madden, though, a little bit of a breakaway. Going to be having Zaxmac right in front of him, but still just dueling out with that strike war. Quite the right angle from the Giga Blast to be able to take it into the goal. J-Man going to try to put it back into Fire Madden's hands. Doesn't pick it up with the top spin. And WEEE on a dash punch will have the anomaly in the way. J-Man passes it up to Fire Madden. Fire Madden dribbling it up the top. But WEEE, again, finding an angle, but it is blocked by an anomaly from Pensando. Giga Blast puts the core right in the Zaxmac's face, who is able to defend. And WEEE finding a nice angle, but defended away as long as possible. Still, they get the job done with another dash punch to get a second KO.
Second KO is going to help with that XP lead. As you can see, Pensando and Fire Madden haven't hit level 4 just yet. Meanwhile, Zaxmac and Carmen are close to hitting level 5 already. So a slight XP lead going in favor of Weee's Little Bees, as Fire Madden, though, is doing a wonderful work up front, takes the barrier, tries to get the core in as well. The dash punch doesn't quite find the KO, and J-Man, as the force is coming through, though, but Weee's Little Bee finding an excellent angle out of that attack and now get their own attack going on Pensando. The banish comes through, denies Zach the ability from going back, but Carmen doing a good job positioning for that and holding on the defense.
Top spin coming on through, going to be fended on off. Carmine still hanging on. Fire Madden with access to the flip, going to try to score without it. Oh, it's baited out as Zaxmac, the one who gets the flip off first, and will be able to successfully clear, but still it's reset once again. Fire Madden with another scoring opportunity. It's Carmine trying to take back control. Another deflection away, and still going to be a KO for Weee's Little Bees as they look to take this one in 3-0 fashion. Power play for them, but the anomaly will stuff it right back into the goal. Nicely placed by Pensando to save what could have been the set.
Overtime hitting just at the right time to give that core red speed and send it right past Zaxmac. Even though it looked so good for the side of Weee's Little Bees to take that goal, in the end it wasn't happening, but the barrier is down now, the flip comes out, the dash punch comes through, and there's not a lot to defend against the Juli dash punch point blank there. Solid set from the side of Weee's Little Bees as we're going into this set. Let's see where the priorities are going to lie.
Gonna have a close game for our promotion match here. Sloth is getting on in. is going to be likely that recovery drone.
Yeah, that size gonna do a lot of work. The rapid fire not to be underestimated for J-Man here. A second spark pickup though for Carmen's gonna help with that speed and cooldown. This Estelle's gonna be quite a menace now as the glass cannon's gonna help Pensando be moving around the map a little bit more. Specialized training being denied off of Fireman and making sure that Kazan isn't gonna turn into a damage menace. And Fireman not really left with much anymore. Has to take the Deadeye.
Yeah, it's a rough draft for Fire Madden for sure, who's already been having a rough promotion game. Double banish off of Pensando, though, might give them a little bit of hope as J-Man's able to help out with Giga Blast to be able to take that barrier. Open goals for both sides, happening pretty fast these days on Aten City. Pensando going to rely on this glass cannon to be able to find that extra bit of oomph that they need, but it is a power play picked up for Weee's Little Bees. Fireman and Pensando just trying to wait out the death timer. Not going to be able to find it this time. Weeeee slips on through and puts it into the goal.
There is a reason this Juliette has been banned off of Weeeee every game so far in the series, I believe. And we are seeing it right here. Weeeee finding so many KOs on this Juli pick. So much pressure up front as well. And it's just really such a dangerous pick here. As the flip goes south a little bit, Banish comes out to slow down the play. We'll see if the Flying Blobbos will be able to find this goal.
Yeah, tough angle there. They are able to banish the core and kind of reset everything there, which is what Pensando was looking for. Going to show up over here to help out Fire Madden as well. Giga Blast gonna get a flip forced out of Carmine. Back into Fire Madden's hands, but Carmine is all over this one, continuously disrupting these passes. Weeeee takes it with a nice dash punch into the barrier, and is super strong now for a chance to be able to come in for the score. Pensando using the anomalies to their best. It's going to be a flip out of J-Man, up to Fireman, into the goal! And a little bit of a flip there for style points at the end as Fireman gets one.
Flip was actually very crucial there because it stunned Zach from being able to get in any interaction on the core. Just made sure it's going to go in. So even though it didn't hit the core directly, it still confirmed the goal to even out the set. But immediately the answer is coming out from Weasel Bees as they just take the barrier so fast. Aten's just such a volatile map when it comes to defending this barrier.
Absolutely is. Pensando done a solid job so far, but really just needs their teammates to be able to stay on the map and get a little bit of offense going for themselves. If it's once again going to be Weeeee coming in with a quick dash punch to put it in and take them on to set point. Potentially get onto series point for promotion into NASL.
They're just playing it so well. They're getting the pressure, they're keeping it up, and they're just being such a threat around edges as well as they continuously find power plays off of this Juli. Fireman trying to get the KO on Carmen there, but isn't quite able to find it. Does find the pop-up though to get the barrier. They still need to get the goal though, and that's usually where the Flying Blobbos have been struggling so far, actually getting the core into the net. The barrier falls soon, but the goal isn't found as the flip has to come out from Pensando, immediately answered by Carmen though. And they get the barrier. Can they get the force through? Weeeee has a flip as well. Core does not hit into the flip though. Zaxmac running up, however, on this now with the Monumentalist, creating so much pressure. Well executed.
So well done, and Weeeee, the namesake of the team, showing up big time in their final match to potentially get promoted into NASL. What could be their final match? If they lose, they will, of course, go to lower bracket and get another shot. But first pick, 1-2 punch, this Juliette looking unstoppable.
Yeah, that KOs, these KOs are not going to slow down. A little bit unfortunate there for J-Man has to take the Spark of Strength, because if you're taking the Prime Time, which would be so valuable for you, you're giving a third Spark. Orb Replicator, not a pickup to be underestimated on a map like Aten. That's going to give you a lot of energy to you and your team. Prime Time finding his way onto Pensando, going to help with defense, but we'll see if it's going to be enough. As the aerial pickup for Fireman as well, going to help a bit with mobility, but I don't think it's really going to help as much as they would need it to.
There were some projectiles on this Kazan. This build would be looking sick right now, but unfortunate for Fire Madden with how the drafts have gone. Really not being able to put up a whole lot of great results on this Kazan pick, and the offense just firing on all cylinders for Weee's Little Bees. Going to get responded to, though. A nice top spin. Fire Madden off the rebound, puts it back in, and manages to break this loss streak for the Flying Blobbos.
Important goal to be found for sure. You want to be going into a set like this with a lead. You don't want to be starting to fight from behind. as the side of Flying Blobbos will have to find another one like that, but the barrier is down almost immediately as these little bees are just using that Estelle to excellence. Get the KO and get the goal. We're even again.
What a shot from Carmine there to be able to take out the goalie. It was a good defense on the banish onto WEEE. That has been the name of the game for Pensando here, how they've been able to withstand some of the aggression is just banishing away WEEE, but not working out that time. The Anomaly's putting in overtime, but WEEE still able to get in there with the Flame Flurry to be able to find an opening onto the goal. J-Man falling back, trying to help out on defense, but the shot goes through all three Flying Blobbos. And WEEE's Little Bees 1 point away from reclaiming their spot in NASL.
Their positioning is just working out so well. Zaxmac and Carmen holding so offensive lines, so even if J-Man and Pensando get the core away from the barrier a little bit, it's immediately being sent back to them as the flip comes out, and Weasel B are looking to close it out right here.
Oh man, a KO already on to Fire, and it is not going to look like they're going to be able to come back from this one, but J-Man managing to get a little bit of a breakaway. The respawn coming through shortly. Fire Madden is back on the map. They've opened on up the barrier, and they have a shot to be able to keep themselves alive in this series. Fire Madden nearly finds its way on through, but it will be defended back away by Zaxmac once again. Now onto the defense. Flying Blobbos have to find a way to stop WEEE from being able to put this into the goal. They don't even get the barrier. Fire Madden get in there with the reset. The pop-up nearly going to be able to send it through, but it will be defended back away by Zaxmac yet again. WEEE finally on the dash punch gets the barrier. Flame Flurry is deflected away, and they will be able to hold on to the goal for the time being. There is the flip from WEEE, though, and it gets into the goal. WEEE's Little Bees. Welcome to the North American Strikers League.
They found the goal in the end. They were being so oppressive on this Aten City. And a much-deserved victory for them as they find their way into NASL yet again. Excellent performance from the team all around. The game plan and the play style that they had just worked wonders in that Aten City in the end. Really good performance.
Really, really good performance there to close things out. And WEEE's Little Bees, a little bit of a unknown coming into the event, given that they've changed up the position Carmine was playing, at least some of the time, although Zaxmac playing a lot of goalie here, and WEEE coming into the roster along with that little rebrand. But what a showing here from WEEE's Little Bees as they requalify themselves to NASL, make good on that 8th seed from NASL Season 5 that they are entitled to.
Yeah, and the Flying Blobbos had a strong showing as well. They forced it to Game 3, right? So they will have another shot in the lower bracket to make the run into NASL. And if they're continuing to play as well as they are looking very promising for that as well. But as of right now, they couldn't get past WEEE's Little Bees. And yeah, just a good showing in the end.
Absolutely is here. And now Bun Bun Bonanza and Polar Cortex playing over in the lower semifinal. The winner of that will face off against WEEE's Little Bees. I think that'll be the next series on stream, if I'm not mistaken. So going to be a little bit of a break before that. No, they're going to go to Pool B Winners Qual first. So Pool B will have their own Winners Qual first. That matchup, I could get my my Start GG over there. Looks like it is going to be Return to Form taking on PP Legends. So exciting to see how that one's going to work out. Dragon Slayers 2 getting taken down by PPL earlier on as the NASA victors look to get in there and get themselves a spot in the Major League.
Yeah, PP Legends trying to make the run into NASL. We're going to be given the shot in this next series, though. But before that, we will be heading into a short little break to get that series ready for you. So don't go anywhere. There's exciting matches ahead. I think that was it for me and Gorda today. And again, a lot of lovely series to be played out. And there are going to be more series coming down the line, so don't go anywhere.
Absolutely.